Hello, welcome to Topper Machine. I'm Josh Topper. So today we're going to do a product review. We're going to unbox and test out a new product. So what we have here is a Bestarc BTC500 Plasma Torch. These are just over $200 on Amazon. The company reached out to me and asked if I would test it out, review it, and just give my honest opinion on it. And quite honestly, I don't need a plasma torch. I have a Hypertherm, a really good machine, and this is just something that I see so many people making things with an angle grinder and a cutoff wheel, and it just drives me nuts because there are tools out there that are not expensive that'll do the job so much better and much safer. So let's open this thing up and see what we got. All right, well here it is. And it's a very small unit. It's 220, 110. You can run it off of either. Comes with a ground cable, your plasma torch, the book, extra hose probably for the air inlet with an air fitting on it already. And looks like a couple of tips and electrodes and a piece of Teflon tape. So overall, the packaging was actually very good. The box was quite heavy cardboard here, and then it was really well packed in this foam, so very nicely packaged. Overall, it's a very light machine. So just going through the specs here quick, it will cut in 220 volt. Had just under ½ inch, 12 millimeter, 472 thousandths, and it'll sever 16 millimeter, which is basically 5/8 of an inch. And on 110 volt, it will cut 10 millimeter, which is just over 3/8 of an inch, and it'll sever just under ½ inch, 472 thousandths. So considering the weight and the cutting capacity of this thing, I'm going to open it up and see what is actually in there, because it is significantly lighter than the old thermodynamics I had of the same capacity. So let's open this thing up and just see how well it's actually built. So there is a lot of finite little circuitry in here, and that may be its biggest downfall in my opinion. You know, circuitry is never a great thing in industrial applications. So for me, my Hypertherm is significantly stouter internally, but for the homeowner application, this might be very good. You know, you got a decent looking little solenoid valve down here for your air. Everything looks well put together, actually, professional. You know, you got decent wires coming in. Looks like 10 gauge to me. And yeah, I think for a homeowner, this might be a sound machine. So let's put it back together and set it all up and then test her out. Before we can do any testing, we need to hook everything up. Here is the ground lead, and it's a pretty good size lead. Internally, it was not. That's got me a little concerned. It was a smaller conductor size in there, but it may be just fine. Yeah, it doesn't really tell me what size this wire is, but based on what I'm seeing of the crimp and everything, it looks like a pretty decent wire. And that just plugs into this right here. And then the plasma torch itself looks pretty straightforward. Just a threaded air fitting, air and electrical here. And you just tighten that on. And you could probably, I'll have to look at the book and see, you might have to tighten that with a wrench, and then there's the 2-pin connector there for the trigger. So pretty simple. You just got to get that plugged in and tighten that little ring. And that's it for putting that together. Now, before we even get to the testing, let's do something. Let's plug this thing into the 110 and just see how it powers up. Okay, well, it's just as simple as taking their 110 adapter they supply with it, plug that into the 220 cord, and we'll plug our cord into this. And obviously I wouldn't use anything this light a duty a cord for cutting, but just for testing that'll be fine. The power switch is on the back. Okay, so in first startup, it looks like it's giving me an error code, and that's probably because I didn't hook the air up. Let's see if that clears up with air. Yep, there it is. There's our amperage adjust on this knob. We're at 86 PSI. This is a pressure regulator on here. You can dial your, I'm sure it's not a bleed off. Oh, it is. So we can dial down our air pressure to whatever we want. And you can switch to air or cut, and 2T or 4T control on the trigger, and then I'll have to look at this one, see what this one is. But there's a few settings on here. Personally, I do not like a digital display, but that's the way the world is going now, so we're kind of stuck with it. And looks like a pretty decent little unit for the size, so I guess we'll have to get on the testing. So in order to properly test this thing, we are going to hand it off to one of the most destructive forces in nature, a teenager. Some say they named a reality TV show after him before he was even born, and that under his helmet is a beard Moses would be jealous of. He is known as the Apprentice. So the first cut he's going to do here is the 1/4 inch material, which is the maximum capacity of the machine at 110 volt. All right, we just switched over the machine to 220 volt, and we've got a piece of 1/2 inch plate here that Connor's going to cut for us. You missed a little bit right there. Didn't get all the way through.
Want me to start right here?
No, I'll start in the middle there. I think you got it. I just have to tap it. Well, it'll cut 1/2 inch. That's pretty good. All right, we switched it back to 110 volt. The next test is going to be with this piece of 14 gauge here, and I'm going to have him back and forth until he overheats the machine, and we'll actually time that, see how long it really takes. And go. So at 4 minutes, it tripped the 20 amp breaker over in the main panel here in the shop. And it flipped it back on, it's ready to go. Should we continue? Okay, go for it. Well, we're going to call that a full test here. That was some 14 gauge, 4 minutes steady before we tripped the main breaker. And Connor, what do you think of the machine? Yeah, I'd say that seems like a pretty decent little piece of equipment. Now I just want to show you guys how we did this test, just so you know. We had my hypertherm over here, which I have set up with a air reservoir underneath, and it comes out of that air reservoir and through filters, regulators, desiccant filter. So we want the driest, cleanest air as possible. Then I come off of that with my hose here and right over to the machine that has its own air filter back here. If I open that up, no moisture came out at all. So very dry air. That's something you'd absolutely need with a plasma torch. So overall, I'm pretty impressed. Well, for a $200 plasma torch on Amazon, I'd say this is a pretty good little unit. They sent it to me to test out, and I'm rather impressed. We'll try this thing out some more on stuff, but you know, in the industrial setting, I would definitely stick with the hypertherm. It's a significantly heavier built machine, but we will use this thing on outside jobs, out in the field, just wherever we can. And thanks to Connor for testing her out for us. And again, check them out. This seemed like a decent little machine. Until next time, get out in your shop and get it done right the first time.